Excuse me. Got my sick voice on.
Nice.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Hey guys. Welcome to Strained Voice Austin here and Reagan on our podcast called Mind Castle, where we talk about making our minds a better place and working at peak performance and living happy lifestyles that we're happy with. And part of that, pardon my voice.
You need some water or
yeah,
something?
kind of, but it's okay. So part of that, part of this whole, being successful and getting things done can go a little too far sometimes into what's called hustle culture and kind of the toxic productivity. Would that be a way of putting it as well?
I almost think that is a good way of saying it. Yeah.
Okay. And so that's mostly what we're going to talk about today. And what is the hustle culture, and is it valid? And is it something that we should actually pour ourselves into, or is there kind of another road that we should go down in that? And Reagan and I have both experienced and probably benefited a fair amount from the whole hustle culture. But before we get into it, Reagan, can you define hustle culture for us? Maybe give an example or something, so we know kind of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, that's a great question. It depends on, it does depend on how you define it, because it varies a lot. But basically I'm thinking of, it feels, especially in the last few years, that the internet is full of these gurus, like self-proclaimed gurus, saying, oh, like, here's the top 5 tips on how to get more done. And you need to be waking up at 4:30 every morning and taking cold showers, which we talked about in a different episode. But they have like their whole spiel of you can get whatever you want if you just work hard enough. Things like rich people don't sleep 8 hours every night. They go out and just go after it and go get it. And they work 100-hour weeks and they build their dreams and they get rich and they accomplish more with their life. And that is, I would say that's probably the best way of summarizing it. I don't even know if there's a definition really. That's how I would call it.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So like it's very appealing. I will say that. The whole you have to be the hardest worker in the room. You have to want it more than anything. Dwayne Johnson's motivational speeches to the Lakers, I will outwork every single one of you in this room. That sort of thing. It can be very appealing. But do you think that they go too far? Like, what's kind of your reaction to that?
So I need just a second to try to find something in the book Atomic Habits.
Do you want me to kill time talking?
Yes, kill some time. Hold on.
Sweet. I'm on it. So I was going to mention this later, but I might as well mention it now. So I was very much influenced by this, whole, what I just mentioned, work hard, be the hardest worker in the room, wake up before everybody else, hustle, all this stuff. Mostly by Dwayne Johnson and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And that whole period of my life was very much sweltered in sleep deprivation, thanks to them. But
oh, that's not good.
I did get a lot of stuff done. For example, that was the period of time when I was daily vlogging. So I was making one video every single day, and I did that for 100 days in a row without missing any, which is kind of a lot. I don't know if you've ever tried that or not. Now I've kind of toned down a little bit. Hold on, I got a cough. Whoa, I'm good. I've kind of toned down a little bit. So now I put maybe 20 to 30 hours into, well, no, more like 15 hours into each video usually. But back then it was taking me around 6 or 8 hours to do a video, start to finish every day while working a full-time day job, 5 hours of sleep per night.
Well, okay, walk us through, what was your daily routine?
Sure. So my daily routine was go to bed as early as possible, which was not very early. So usually 9:30, which was, that's pretty good. 10 o'clock, 10:30. Get up at 4 in the morning and work out while listening to a motivational speech by Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, classic. So get my pump on for about a half hour, and then I would usually edit the video from the previous day until work started. So from 5:30 to 6:30, more like 5 to 6:30. And I would finish the edit and it would be ready to post usually for that day. I would schedule it and get it ready to post. Then I would go to work at 7, work till 5 in the evening, and then I would record a video from 5 until dark, go to bed, get up and edit it, redo that whole cycle. And mostly I would listen, motivational speeches were a huge part of my day. I would listen to them endlessly. All this, it was kind of a lot of my fuel I guess. And I guess I lived a lot of the I loved the idea of being the hardest worker in the room. And I was very competitive with myself, which is a good thing. It's a very, very good thing. And I think that's the main takeaway I learned from it. But there's a balance that needs to be found there. And I think I went a little extreme.
I mean, the sleep deprivation part, especially.
Yeah, I mostly got that from Dwayne Johnson and Arnold Schwarzenegger, where it was just like, yeah, they're promoting that's one thing I didn't appreciate. Like the whole, like Arnold says, to people that need 8 hours of sleep, like sleep faster, you need to sleep 6 hours. That's 2 extra hours. Do you know how much you can accomplish in those 2 extra hours? It's like, okay, cool. But do you know what happens to your brain if you don't do that? Like a whole bunch of not good stuff. And anyway.
Well, and hold on, another book I need to get. If you come by the studio, which is also my office, you totally should. Yeah, please come visit. You will see mics and cameras and equipment and stuff, and loads of books laying everywhere because we believe in distilling knowledge from people. An influence of mine, slightly, has been Jocko Willink, who's former Navy SEAL commander and all this stuff. He has a lot of stuff on leadership, but one of his key things is imposing discipline into your life. And he can also come across this way. Like you need to work really hard. You need to like show up every day. But I would say he adds a lot more nuance than a lot of these other people. So for example, he gets up every morning and takes a picture of his watch when he wakes up, and is really annoying because on Twitter, you go through Twitter in the morning to see what's been happening while you slept. And the first thing you see is his watch that says 4:32 in the morning. Let's go. And I'm just like, how do you do this? He's been doing this his whole life. I read one of his books called Discipline Equals Freedom, et cetera, et cetera. And one of his things is you have to get lots of sleep. I didn't know that was something he taught, actually. He said there's a very rare part of the population that don't need as much sleep. And he happens to be one of those. But he said, like, please don't take my example as you should not sleep. You really need to sleep. His thing is go to bed earlier and wake up earlier, which I've started experimenting with and actually has been genuinely helpful.
Ooh, I just listened to an amazing podcast. So fun fact, I won't go into too many of the details here, but I was listening to a podcast on like your hormones, which is basically governs most of what happens in your body. It's pretty great. And for us, because we're dudes, the hormone of like testosterone and all that stuff is fascinating. But the way it works is when you sleep, that's when it gets like recharged and your body starts producing it. And around like 5 to 6 in the morning is when your body releases that into your bloodstream. And that is when you have the most ability to do heavy lifting stuff, like hard, intensive work, because your body is just supercharging you with this energy. And so like front loading a lot of your heavier workload in the first part of your day is critical because it just starts crashing from there. And like 8 o'clock is the absolute lowest part of your day hormonally as far as energy. And then that's like when your body's like, all right, I need to recharge here.
Time to sleep.
And that's very different for women. There's a whole different science to that. That's another interesting thing about hustle culture is that people have interpreted hustle culture. A lot of the studies and stuff are on men and how their hormones work, and it just treats women as smaller versions of men. And it's like, that's not quite right. And so there's like dramatically different results. And so, I just found that super interesting.
Yeah.
And I wasn't aware of that. So like, if I get up at, 8 o'clock in the morning, that's great, but I'm missing 4 hours or like 3 hours of my most productive heavy lifting time. Not that the morning isn't great, but there is something to be said for that. I just found that interesting. Anyway, continue.
And some people are just genuinely not morning people. So like this varies from individual to individual. Some people do have more mental energy after supper in the evenings. I know a few people like that. Some people see the other way around. Some people are either one. And that's some of the problem with hustle culture. It's like, if you're not doing these certain things, you're just slacking.
Yeah.
And that part, there's no nuance in that. There's no context. There's no science. It's just an arbitrary bar that we've set for people and said, well, because I'm doing this, you should too. And again, that's why some of what I appreciate with what Jocko Willink does, again, former Navy SEAL. So getting up at 4:30 in the morning is just like another day at the office, and working extremely hard. But he also goes to bed at like 8 o'clock at night,
Right.
So like, And his genetics allow, and he's researched it and stuff, allow for less sleep. So he's not out there like some people like Arnold Schwarzenegger saying, hey, you have to get less sleep. That's a really bad idea. And one of the things with this podcast, we're talking about making the most of our lives, living meaningful, rich, fulfilling lives, and learning stuff and doing stuff with your time and using it well. Be careful that you as the audience, please don't hear us saying, get less sleep, work harder, you're useless if you're not, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Like, there are podcasts and things that come across that way, and we really don't want to come across that way, which is one of the reasons we're doing this particular podcast. Sleep, I would say, is, and I think we mentioned this episode 2, I think. Sleep is one of the most incredible things you can do for your productivity.
Episode 3, actually.
Is it episode 3?
Yep.
It's actually crazy, like how big. And do some research. Are you more of a night person or a morning person? Or if you can go either way, that's even better. Find which one works for you and then adapt your productivity around it. I've started experimenting with, go to bed earlier. Because typically in the evenings, what are you doing in your evenings? Like nothing. You're sitting around watching Netflix or something stupid, right? That's what we tend to do because our brains are just kind of whining. Just go ahead and go to bed. Go to bed at like 9 o'clock in the evening, which is like, why not? We're tired. Let's go. And then you get up, nice and early, and you feel so much better.
Yeah.
That's that. Now that I would recommend. I'm not saying get less sleep, which is in this book that is, I think, probably worth your time from Jocko. Anyways, but that was not where I was planning to go with that. I was going to read something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Since I killed time for you.
Yes. Thank you for killing time.
No problem.
That was important though. Sleep's really important.
Yeah.
People, seriously. But here's something back to hustle culture that they say. Like Grant Cardone, which is basically, anyway, don't get me started on Grant Cardone. If you're on Facebook, you've seen his ads probably of like, you can have millions of dollars if you just sign up for my course that costs $9,000. He's one of those guys. But one of his early books that got him like in the scene and stuff was, what's it called? 10X or something. And he just says, if you want it in life, you have to be absolutely obsessed and just give everything to it and work harder than everybody else, put in more hours than everybody else, and you will get it. You will be a millionaire. You can do it. Now, to be fair, there is a lot of truth to that. Working hard and doing a good job and having dreams and goals and really striving for them is a good thing. There's one critical piece that he leaves out, and it's this. And this is a quote from the book Atomic Habits, which we will review on a future episode. So subscribe for that if you're interested. Great book. And it's this. I just dropped something. Anyway, okay. And it's this quote: winners and losers have the same goals. So for all the Grant Cardones who made their millions of dollars because they hustled really hard and like worked 100-hour weeks, there's just as many people, probably a lot more, that did the exact same thing, worked just as hard or harder, and failed and lost everything. Yep. And ended up in the poorhouse and ended up flipping burgers at McDonald's.
And they don't have a voice.
Yeah. And they have no way of telling people because they're not super famous and have a giant YouTube channel and have written books about it. We don't hear about those people. And that is a fatal flaw with hustle culture. You only see the examples of people who made it. So while it's true, and hear us well, working hard, working well with your hands, taking, like showing up and doing a good job is important. Do that. But do know, just because you work harder than everybody else does not mean you will automatically have more fame and riches.
Exactly.
And it does not mean you'll have a more fulfilled life.
Nope.
I look at someone like Elon Musk. The guy talks about how he works 100-hour weeks. You know what? He loves it. He loves his job. He's the richest man in the world. He's genuinely having a good time doing what he's doing. He's getting to build rockets. It's awesome. But look at his family. Look at his home life. Like he doesn't even really have a life anymore. He just went through a divorce. What he traded for those 100 hours a week, yes, he got the most money in the world, but he lost so much more. Like hustle culture, like actually messed him up. You could argue that. I mean, it's his own choice.
And when he's like 60, 70, what's he going to be left with?
Oh, I know.
Because then he can't be that workaholic anymore, at least not to the level of performance he's used to. And he doesn't have a family. Like he loses the relationship aspect of life, which is truly where fulfillment comes from, in my opinion.
And that's where, it's painful. You okay?
Literally, my abs hurt so bad from coughing.
You're going to be jacked from all this.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow, 6-pack abs. Anyways, so here's the thing with hustle culture. There are some good points. And I will say, I was kind of in this world back in the day. I spent a few years going down that rabbit hole the productivity gurus, the influencers, whatever. And, always like constantly tweaking my life. Like, how can I get the most out of every second? How can I cram it a little more and push myself to get more done, build my dreams, wake up early, all the normal things you find on the internet. The internet is full of tips on all this stuff. The latest software to keep track of your habits and get them, anyway, all that stuff. And I will say, I learned a lot. And as a result, I did accomplish a lot more in those couple of years than I ever thought possible. It was pretty awesome, but there was huge trade-offs for that. And some of that comes from just life experience, not knowing some things that I know now. Mm-hmm. I wasn't fully aware of those trade-offs, and now I probably wouldn't balance it the same way anymore. And here's the thing. So this is actually this is from one of my newsletters that I sent out, and it's up on my website too. But basically, distilling some of this stuff, I wrote something to the effect that we're so busy optimizing our calendars, trying the latest morning routine or experimenting with the latest productivity app that we never stop to ask, to what end? What is the goal of being productive, of all the hard work? Is it to make my life more meaningful and more full of joy? Even worse, the temptation is to look at those around us and think that since they're not working as long hours or aren't maximizing the amazing time management skills that we've figured out, that somehow we're better or more important than them. And that's just not true. And that's just, if you have chosen to work 90-hour work weeks and you've chosen that, hey, great, go for it. Just don't put that on other people.
Right. And don't claim it's the only way. Like someone, okay. Yeah. Someone can be perfectly happy and live a very successful, fulfilled life and make 50 grand a year, 25 a year. And can have a beautiful family and can have amazing relationships. And who's the judge to say that person is not successful or not fulfilled? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think we take it a little too far sometimes. And I got to be careful not to fall into this too, because a lot of my YouTube videos are about how to optimize your life. Mm-hmm. And it can be easy to jump on one thing to the next and always be trying the next thing. And yeah, like you said, lose focus of what you're really trying to accomplish.
Well, okay. So, and maybe we should do a full episode on this sometime, or you should do a video on it, whatever. The point of productivity.
Yeah, exactly.
Why are we trying to work really hard and be productive? Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, here's what I figured out. And this is from the book, The Productivity Project, which I recommend. He kind of just does that deep dive. Like chapter 1. Okay, why do you want to try the latest time hacks and figure out how to, wake up early? Why? What's the point? Is it to make more money? Why are you trying to be productive? Mm-hmm. And this is what he says. The idea of productivity should be centered around tactics that help us accomplish everything we need to do in less time so that you can carve out more time for what's actually important and meaningful in your life.
Yeah.
It's not so that we can make our millions and go on. It's you work really hard, you get up early and you're productive so that, hey, you have more time in the afternoon and evening for your family or for your hobbies or for building something meaningful in your life. That's the point of productivity. And when I read that, I was like, oh yeah, that was the missing piece.
Yeah.
That was the part I was missing.
And we lose sight of that.
Yeah, we really do. At the end of the day, and this is another quote from him from that book. He says, productivity has nothing to do with how much you do and everything to do with how much you accomplish.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that was kind of I didn't think of it like that. So again, back to hustle culture, their thing is do more, get up earlier, work harder. And actually, if you do that, that does not mean you're accomplishing more.
Right. You
may be working harder, but you're not working smarter. The point being, figure out what you want, figure out how to accomplish it. And it's not really how the hours are kind of secondary, actually.
Figure out what you want and then figure out what it's going to take for you to get there.
Yeah.
And what the most efficient way for you to do that is.
Yeah.
And for some things, it will be plugging in every hour that you possibly can and grinding it out. And for some of that is true. Some things they just take hard work. But I think, like you're saying, we need to be careful not to get lost in the hard work as like we talked about in deep work, as a proxy for productivity. I love that statement. It's really stuck with me. And anymore, for me, I like to gauge my productivity based on how much free time I have, because I know how long it takes to do something, like make a video. And if I can do that in less amount of time, it's whoa, I have an extra hour just hanging out here. I can go read, I can go be lazy, I could do whatever because I was productive before. And that's pretty cool. I like gauging it that way. And so there's I like to think of it as a paper. You can bend it too far and then like as a way, like that was a terrible analogy because you can't really see it, but like the whole thing of like you take a paper that's flat and you bend it, you bend it all the way over so that when you let it go, it stands up at 90 degrees. And then like you bend it too far so that it comes back a little bit. And so the hustle culture, I think, is bending it all the way down, like too far, where it's focusing only on the work and only on what you're doing. And I'm saying like we need to bring it back just a little bit and still use that. Like I don't know. This is a hard balance for me because yes, hustle culture has impacted so much of what I've done, so much of what's happened. But when I bent it back and read Goals by Brian Tracy and actually got smart and focused about exactly what I wanted, like hustle culture had nothing on that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So now here's the sweet spot. If you can do that and combine it with the work ethic of hustle culture, you'll be pretty amazed how far you'll go.
Yeah. And you'll know when you get there.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing.
So, okay. So one of the things, another point in here, being busy is a poor measure of what you're accomplishing in life because there are people out there that are stupid busy, but it seems like, have they actually accomplished anything? Like, have they accomplished anything that's going to last? That's meaningful? Have they stepped back from the grind and said, what am I trying to build again? Like, why, how, what's the end goal? Yeah. Like it's sad. I mean, some people spend their entire lives just being terribly busy. But did they accomplish much? Yeah. Probably not. And then there's other people that seem like they're really not that busy, but they're getting a lot of stuff done. Like how? Well, they've figured out how to balance all this stuff. I mean, this is a little weird, but I've had people ask me that, like, how do you get so much done? I work a full-time job. I was in college full-time last year. I have the Anabaptist Perspectives podcast. I have this podcast. I have a podcast to do with my friend Jaron. I don't feel busy at all. Like I'm having a party. Like I don't feel like I'm working more hours than the next guy. I'm not working more hours than the next guy. I guess, I don't know, over the years, you just kind of figure things out and build up systems to where it works well for you. But I don't go around saying, oh, I'm out working everybody and you should be like me and work 100 hours a week so you can do all the things I'm doing. No, I'm just having fun. Like I'm actually genuinely enjoying myself, having a great time doing it. And as a result, yeah, some things get done, which is great. But I think it's more enjoying it, having a meaningful life. That's the part that really matters. Yeah. Anyway.
I think so.
Yeah. That was the main points I pulled from that book.
It's cool. Austin Kleon actually talks a little bit about this in some of his books, which I appreciate. I'm trying to find a good quote here, but what I like is he says, when I get busy, I get stupid.
Yes. You don't have the brain space to think.
Yeah. He says, take some time to get bored. Creative people need to just sit around and do nothing. He said, I get some of my best ideas when I'm bored, which is why I never take my shirts to the cleaners. I love ironing my shirts. It's so boring. I almost always get good ideas. This is so cool.
Wow.
Why do you think most of your best ideas come in the shower, man?
That's genius. Yeah. Wait, what? I don't have good ideas in the shower at all. I'm too tired. I do it like first thing in the morning.
But
I'm
that's
still
the whole
waking
thing,
up.
you know, like shower thoughts and like all this stuff. I don't know. I just love that. Like, man, I need to take some more time to just be bored.
Well, and that's what I would encourage everybody here. Yes, work hard, work meaningful, invest well. Like, there's something to that. Okay. Don't, we're not saying be lazy, but do take intentional time either first thing in the morning or in the evenings to just kind of give yourself 30 minutes or whatever, however long you want, to just think and, do a kind of a mundane task, let your mind wander, contemplate life, That's good. If you're trying to cram every minute full of something productive, you will miss the big picture. Yeah. And that would be sad. And 20 years down the road, you'll look back and like, I missed this so important thing. I wish I would have known that. And I would have made my life that much better and more meaningful. Live a meaningful life. That's what we're saying. Make it full of joy.
Yes.
Yeah.
The good stuff in life.
Full of joy. Like cups of tea.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Dude. Cuppa, as they say.
Cuppa.
A cup of tea.
Love me some good tea.
Yeah.
So you should definitely send us an email and let us know what you think about this topic, whether or not we're way off in left field or if we hit a home run. See what I did there? Okay. So yeah, feel free to reach out to us. We love hearing from you guys. If you have ideas for what we should do in future episodes, we have a plethora, but we do cater to our audience whenever we can. So feel free to give us ideas. Check us out on the social medias, on the interwebs. You can find us at all places that are our names, Austin Schrock and Reagan Schrock. We have websites that are getting finished. So yeah, we would appreciate as well a 5-star review. That helps us tremendously, and a share potentially. Yeah, all the things. You know the stuff. You know the drill. We're going to sign out. I'm about to lose my voice. It's pretty much great. We had a blast recording this, and hopefully you get the message of what we were trying to convey.
And if not, let us know and we'll correct it in a future episode, because we drop new episodes every Friday.
Yep.
Oh, how about that?
At least we try.
We do try every Friday, except for the Fridays that we don't.
Sometimes it happens. Sometimes we just get lazy. No.
No. We allow ourselves to get bored, so we stop producing episodes. So we can.
There's a difference between bored and lazy.
Huge difference. Lazy is lounging on a couch with potato chips watching Netflix.
Yeah.
Bored is allowing yourself to get immersed in a menial task that allows your mind to wander and be creative.
That is a good point. Oh, I like that. I think I'm going to go take some time to be bored.
Yes. Not lazy.
Not lazy. All right. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll catch you in the next one.